right, everyone, welcome. It is 3 o'clock in Kitsap County. It is 30 degrees. It is chilly out here. And as it is so chilly, the severe weather shelter is open tonight. So please get the word out. Folks can call 211 or they can call 360-373-3000. Be transported to any of the shelters that are open throughout the county. Again, call 211 or 360-373-3000. Uh, the severe weather shelter is open this evening. All right, now that announcement is out the way, this is our conversation and housing concerns with BHA and KCR. I've got a very special surprise for you today. Jill Stanton is back. How awesome is that? She is back in the house. So let's go ahead and give her applause and bring her on up. How are you doing, Jill?
I'm good. I feel like a superstar every time I come here.
You are a superstar. And we appreciate you coming.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Good, good. So, you haven't been here in a while, right? I think it's been like probably a couple months now.
Yeah.
So why don't you give us some updates in regards to, before we get into what's going on with BHA and probably community needs assessment and all these other big things. Tony let some stuff out of the bag with BHA the other day, which was awesome. How was your holiday?
Oh, it was really great. Yeah, so I've been gone for a couple months. I was on medical leave, but are you still there, Marwan?
Oh yeah, I'm just giving you.
Oh,
See, things are changing now.
oh
Now I
yes.
just give you the whole screen.
Okay. I was like, wait, you're gone. So, but yeah, anyways, I was on medical leave for a couple months with a surgery that I had to have, and um, it was unexpected and kind of a scary thing for me. But now, it's behind me and I'm back, and it just really made for a wonderful Thanksgiving with my family to just know how precious, not that my life was in danger, but it felt like it was. And just to have that reminder of how precious life is and how much we have to be thankful for, which again just leads me right back into this work of housing people. And once we get to that, I do have some updates that I'd like to share just in how we've been looking at our programs and some of the accomplishments that we are starting to realize, particularly in the voucher program.
Nice, nice. Well, we are definitely glad to have you back. We're glad you had a great holiday. Super excited about that. And I see that Katie is coming on in, so let's go ahead and give her applause and bring her on up. Hey, Katie, how you doing today?
Hi, doing well. I went outside and it was snowing, raining. I'm not sure, but it's chilly out there.
Snowy, rainy, huh? Does it feel cold?
It's cold, but it's like slush. It's like slow rain or
Slushy.
something. Anyway, my daughter was not wearing a coat, I figured out, but
Oh
hopefully
no.
she made it to the boat fast.
Now, is it extra cold on the boat?
No, we keep pretty warm. The water doesn't change temperature much. So half of our home is in the water. So
Really? All right. I
that'll work.
don't think that it is warmer on the water. That is just how I feel.
No, it's not warmer, but I think we acclimate better because we're used to it, I guess. There's a lot of theories around it.
There's a lot of theories. I will take your word for it. For sure. So how was your holiday?
It was good. I went to my brother's house. There was 17 of us.
Wow.
Really good Thanksgiving, and the kids got to play with their cousins. So yes, it was really fun.
Sounds like good times. All right. Well, why don't we get into it? I know there's a lot of updates. Jill, I'm going to give you the floor.
Okay, sounds good. So we thought a couple of things. I'll open it up by just sharing some information. And then we actually have a little presentation on the demographics of our wait list that we thought we would present today.
I love it.
We presented it to our Board of Commissioners at the board meeting this past week. And I just think it's really good information for us to share on this podcast. But to get us started, so, back when I was hired January 2021, at that point, the BHA's Section 8, so our Housing Choice Voucher Program waitlist, had not been open for a couple of years. And the Housing Authority actually wasn't focused on leasing. And what that kind of created for us was a program that had very underutilized vouchers. So as I've explained before, HUD has allocated us about 1,900 vouchers. And when I came on board, we only had about 1,350 of them leased up. So there was a huge amount of vouchers out there, which were not only not being used, but not being funded by HUD. And we calculated that a fully utilized program, we were missing out on about $5 million in federal funding for rental assistance in Kitsap County. So now HUD doesn't necessarily say, you have this $5 million that you can just spend. They give us much less than that. And so then we're always trying to monitor so that we don't overspend what they've given us, but still utilize our vouchers. Well, what we decided to do at that point is really increase our leasing initiative. So not worrying about, well, we're spending 97% of the money that we are given. We decided to just start really focusing on leasing and not worry so much about the money, because we know that HUD has programs that if you spend all of the money that you're given, they'll give you more as long as you participate in what they call shortfall prevention. We weren't anywhere close to shortfall. We were just trying to avoid it so bad that we were actually, instead of increasing our program, we were actually decreasing the amount of vouchers that we use. So we kind of took a whole different approach and we opened the wait list. We've opened it twice now, and just started increasing our issuing of vouchers and doing some other things too, to try to bring more landlords onto the program and really and increasing our fair market rents so that our payment standards could go up, so that we were our voucher holders were more competitive in that market. So we really focused on these things that would get vouchers leased. So as I told the board this week, I was looking back to that time, and every month we have a HUD report that we have to report to HUD how much money we spent, how many vouchers we've leased up, how many vouchers we've issued. And so I pull that report, and when you pull it on a monthly basis, you might see an increase of 5 in 1 month or 10 in 1 month, or you might even go down in 1 month. So it's looking at it on a month-to-month basis. It really doesn't tell the picture. But when I took it for the board wanted to see this whole time period, which has been a year and 10 months, and looking at it from where we started to where we are now, I realized we have over 150 more vouchers leased than we did back in January of 2021.
Wow.
And that is an incredible number to me, because given the shortage of housing in Kitsap County, just affordable units in general, we have over 150 people that found housing with a voucher. Now, 65 of those were in Pendleton Place, so that was a new housing stock. And then, of course, we bought the 5 houses, and there's been, other things that have increased some of the housing, but it's still an incredible number when you think about it. And it's not just Bremerton Housing Authority that did this. All of these community partners that we've been working with to get referrals into our program, to help people that they refer into our program to actually go out there and find homes. We've got the Deborah Jacksons of the world. Just, she will not be denied. So it's like people are finding homes, and it's just an incredible accomplishment that for this community that we've been able to house over 150 households in less than 2 years, utilizing these vouchers and working together to do this. So that is that was one thing I just thought is really important to highlight and bring up. The other thing that we talk a lot about is the Foster Youth Independence Program. I was actually just on a call with DCYF, and they're trying to get this program in every county in Washington, and they just use Bremerton and Kitsap County as the shining example because of the 25 vouchers, we already have 12 foster youth aging out of foster care housed in this community. And it started in January. And we were working on this program well before it started in January, but just the fact that we've had this success is amazing. And this, again, is because of this partnership where the county is funding the services of Olive Crest, who's basically the nonprofit that is doing all of the work, the case management, the housing navigation, helping with helping these foster youth to apply for the voucher, and they're just doing a phenomenal job, and we've been extremely successful. And they have another, probably 15 youth identified that they're going to start going down the road of utilizing these vouchers for that. So that's a pretty incredible feat. And then just the final one that we've talked about before also is the emergency housing voucher program, which we were so excited to get these emergency vouchers, and it's been very, very difficult to work with this program for many, many reasons. But we have 29 of the 38 in homes. We have let's see, all of the vouchers except one have now been issued, and people are various organizations are working with their referrals to help get people into homes. So our goal is to have all 38 completely leased by September. We're actually hoping to do it much sooner than that, but that is our goal. And I have no doubt that we will make that goal. So anyways, Katie, anything that we talked about earlier that I forgot to mention?
No, I think that's a good overview of the fact that there's a lot of different programs that are under Section 8, but they all pull on the housing stock of Bremerton, whether it's the Foster Youth Independence, which has seen success because of the story it can tell, which is help these youth aging out of foster care start their lives. And I can't say how many, but the DCYF loves to tell the story about, not just apartments, not just a stepping stone. These could be dream homes. These could be waterfront apartments. They get to start their family and their life and really gain stability. They don't have to move right away. Like, I think that's really important to share that you can live anywhere. And so it's just about communicating what the program is and really the landlords giving everyone a chance, because it is a lot of work, and we really appreciate all the partners who have put themselves out there to work with us and go through all the red tape to make it happen. So
And if you don't mind, I was a foster youth, and I was living at the YMCA downtown Seattle at 17 when I decided I'll just try to do this on my own. And there were no supports that I knew of back then like this. And I can only imagine the trajectory of how my life could have progressed. From 17 to 24 was really difficult for me. And to have had an option like this is phenomenal. So, 12 it may seem like a small number, but to the individuals, it's everything. It's everything. So I just wanted to share that because I don't think folks really understand that when you don't have friends and family as support, you're really just kind of out there by yourself, and your life can go in drastic different ways than you intended for yourself. So when you're a kid, so it's unfortunate. So big, big, big ups for that. I love it.
And just another kind of piece of information that always surprises me when I think about this is many of these foster youth are already parents. So, we're not just affecting the life of one person, but we're affecting the life of their entire household.
You're talking about trying to combat, a cycle of poverty and just,
Yeah.
a bunch of different factors, minimizing ACEs. It's just really huge. It can't be understated. The impact. It would be great to get stories from those individuals, because this is when the system is working at its best. So thank you for your work.
We're working on a video kind of marketing tool for this program. So when we get that ready, you'll be one of the first to see it, Marwan, right here.
I love it. Fantastic, fantastic. And then so you were saying that you found, you were able to provide 150, homes more than typical, right?
Well, I mean, so our voucher count right now is at close to 1,500, and it was about 13 when back in January of 2021. So yeah, I mean, we found over 150, including Pendleton Place, but places for people to rent in Kitsap County.
Again, these are phenomenal numbers, right? 1,500 people that need some form of housing assistance in order to maintain that. That's a lot of people because typically a household is, what, 2 or more?
Well, so actually, we'll kind of get to that if we go through the demographics. So we actually have more single person households than any other number. So,
Really?
one of the things that we've been working on is looking at the people who apply because we opened the wait list. We had 2,600 and something applicants. We don't have that many vouchers, but what we wanted to really see is who is applying for this program and where are they coming from, what's their household size, what's their income levels, what's their race. And so we can take our baseline demographic numbers and then really look at who and how we want to target in the future so that we can set goals. Like we want maybe to do outreach to certain populations that are underserved. And now that we have this demographic information, we can use it to establish, how are we going to open waitlists in the future, and how are we going to put in a preference strategy so when we open our waitlist, we're actually able to give preferences to the most needy, or establish whatever those protocols are going to be. So maybe this is a good segue for us to kind of take a look at that demographic information. Katie, are you going to pull that up?
Yeah, I can pull it up.
As
And
Katie is
I'll let
pulling that up,
Katie go ahead.
Joe, let me just ask a question. A
Mhm.
lot of times when we're talking about, the unhoused and unaffordable housing, it is typically framed around families. So it's interesting to hear, statistically that it's more individuals that need housing. Any thoughts on that?
I
I
mean, yeah, go ahead, Katie.
One thing I want to know is we're going to look at the demographics of the waitlist applicants. And
Okay.
we have to remember that it's like a pre-application. Nothing is verified at the time of application. So as long as they enter one household member, they can get through the application. Once they get to the top, we'll verify, oh, you have more, so we'll add them to the list. So it's good information we could utilize, but I don't think it's maybe not the only information. The community needs assessment will help us balance that as well. But the more data we can collect, the more we know what is important to make decisions off of. So I think we do get a lot of single person because, like I said, that's one factor. The other factor is elderly and disabled are our highest populations.
Hmm.
So we want to make sure that we have appropriate housing for those families and those households that are single person households so those are a factor, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Is that this is good information, but it's not total, complete information. And what I'll also say about household size is that this could be an indicator that there's more resources for families than maybe there are for individuals. And a lot of people that are applying directly from the shelters or applying from, wherever they're getting their case management right now. And so the clientele of those tend to be less families and more single individuals. But again, I think what we're really pleased with is we have a baseline of who applied in this last round and actually in the round before as well. So we can start really having some targeted approaches to how we administer this program.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'll pull it up. And I want it to be less of a presentation, if you're okay with that, Marwan, more of a discussion around the
Yeah,
data.
I like it.
They're kind of high-level charts that we put together based on the data, but I think it is a good catalyst for discussion.
We love catalysts for discussion.
And I can't see you when I do this, and that makes me sad.
You need a dual monitor.
I do have it, but I don't want to. I don't want to play with your restream, so I will keep it like this. I'll imagine your faces there. So this is the presentation we also gave to our board on Monday. So again, it just starts with, this is the waitlist demographics. And again, these are the applicants who applied to the waitlist. And I think it's important, so if our first waitlist opening this year was our Housing Choice Voucher waitlist, which opened in May for 5 days. So we have to remember that. And it was our first opening using Rent Cafe, which before anybody could just click on the link to the form and fill out the form. With Rent Cafe, as we all remember, you have to have a unique email and password and log into your account to be able to apply. So I think that's a good note to make, because we really wanted to see success just in the amount of applications compared to just clicking on a link. And I think you'll see in this first chart that you can see that we opened the waitlist, the Bremerton Housing Authority HCV waitlist in 2018, 2021, and of course, May 2022. So here's the first chart comparing those numbers and we really only tracked race for the last two. I think we might have more information with that, but we focused on just the different races that applied.
So Katie, is that this breakdown here, does that kind of track with the population by race here in the county?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So this is the next slide. This shows the distribution, not necessarily focusing on the numbers, but this percentage. So in 2021, you can see we had a little bit more, less Caucasian white and more of the other races. And in 2022, you can see that number is a little bit larger. But in Kitsap, at least from the census data we have, not based on income or poverty level, it's 82% Caucasian white. So we are definitely within that and doing a better job here. But I have to say, remember, this was just a link. This is a Rent Cafe registration. The other difference is in 2021, we did some outreach, and it definitely was a public outreach campaign, but we wanted to focus on an overall all-out public outreach campaign in 2022 just to get the information out. So I don't know if it reached as many people in 2021. We don't have those numbers, but it's interesting to think about the change in leadership we had these years and things that were happening, that we want to use 2022 as our baseline, especially because of the Rent Cafe and the different way you apply for the wait list. And we did a lottery in 2021 and years back. So if you applied, it didn't mean you got on the wait list. So that was a huge factor in maybe more people applied because it wasn't a lottery.
So I have another question for you, Katie, and this one may not be one that you can answer, but I always wondered about the multiple unknown, because that just seems to be kind of a catch-all. Is there any kind of conversation about, making picking maybe 5 of the most popular or most popular is not the word I'm looking for.
Like combinations, though.
Yes, and so we can drill down a little bit further?
So it's interesting because I have that data for 2021
Mhm.
and 2018. It's data we gathered. In 2022, because of the way the application changed when we switched to Rent Cafe, it didn't have that option of the multiple. So it is interesting to think about how we can utilize the data we already have or get more data from that, because again, in the Kitsap distribution I have right now, it's multiple as well. So we wouldn't be able to easily compare it,
Mhm.
but that is something we want to do now, especially with the community needs assessment information. I've seen a draft of it and it's amazing to see. They got over 4,500 responses. So it's really detailed information.
Oh, Katie, Tony came on to the podcast Monday and gave us a little sneak preview.
It's nice, isn't
Eh,
it?
oh, yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on it. It'll be,
I really feel like doing this and the CNA at the same time, Kitsap County is really going to have the data we need to create targeted outreach that is really necessary to run these programs.
well, let me ask you this. Can we extrapolate anything from, let's say, looking at African American Black from 21 to 22? It dropped down by 4%. And you could
Mhm.
say, well, maybe that went into multiple unknown, but unknown actually went down a percentage. So,
Mhm.
what can be inferred by that, if anything?
I would say it was more of a blanket outreach. I remember when we did the May wait list and we would go to the coalition and present. And then somebody's like, well, next time let's get a meal going at the Salvation Army, or let's do this. And those are things that, because we were focused on making sure people were getting registered and understood the computer literacy piece of it, that next time we can really do those hands-on kind of outreach with the partners, especially because we're on the other side of COVID, and that we can think more about how we can do that hand in hand with what we already do.
Absolutely. All right. Jill, does anything stand out to you so far on this here as a ED looking at these numbers?
Well, I mean, I too just find it really interesting to look at the race distribution and compare it to the race distribution of Kitsap County in general. I think that also looking, if we had this piece of information with income levels from which we didn't have in the census,
Mhm.
I think that would also maybe give us some a deeper clarification into our applicants. But I think it's very interesting. Some of the other things that Katie's going to bring up, I find also very interesting. In particular, we have a chart showing where in the different
Mhm.
cities people applied from in Kitsap
Oh,
County.
wow.
Oh, is
Okay.
this? Yeah, this is the chart. This one I found really interesting because 28% actually were from the city of Bremerton, which isn't a huge surprise to us, but we've never seen this type of information before. So it's kind of good for us to know, okay, where are the people that are in need of this housing really living right now?
Well, outside Kitsap Mason County was the largest? What area is that?
So yeah, it's kind of funny. So anybody in the nation can apply for our wait list. So when we open the wait list, we have to manage it very carefully. That's why we only keep it open for a very short time, 1 week, because once it kind of the information gets out there, we could be flooded with applications from all over the nation. And
Wow.
so that always the outside our Kitsap County area, outside these zip codes, is always kind of the largest piece. But what we need to do is kind of look at that and say, how many were from other places in Washington that truly want to come here to Kitsap County versus people that are out of the state and that are just applying for any wait list that comes open. Because remember, if they get a voucher, the rule for us is that they have to live here in Kitsap County for 1 year, but then they can take their voucher and report it to wherever they want to go. So there's a lot of people that are looking for those types of opportunities. And they may apply for our wait list, but if they actually get called, they may have no interest in coming to Kitsap County versus someone who maybe lives in Seattle or lives in Eastern Washington and they would want to come to Kitsap County. So they apply for our wait list. But really, to keep it in perspective, the way we kind of look at this is, almost 70% of our applicants actually came from our county. So while that category looks really big from outside our area, it really is not the majority of who applied for this wait list. So that's a good thing.
Gotcha. Okay. And just for clarification, let's say I was unhoused in South Carolina, but I'm just applying for housing anywhere, voucher anywhere. I get it. And it's like, oh, I don't want to relocate to Washington and Kitsap County. So then, I can decline that and it goes to the next person. And if they did accept it, then they would come and move to Kitsap County and they would have to live here for a year and then they could take their voucher somewhere else if they didn't want to stay in Kitsap County.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, fascinating. Thank you for the
Mhm.
explanation.
But yeah, there's only 2% of the applicants that came from Bainbridge Island. And it's funny because Bainbridge Island is currently working on, oh, what did they call it? They're some sort of community information. And one of the things that they wanted from BHA is they wanted to know how many people from Bainbridge Island applied for our wait list. And so we just happened to be working on it at the time, and we were able to share that with them, which they're going to report in this report that they're putting out. So
Nice, nice. So what is that number? Do you know that 2%? Is that 20 people? Is that
2% of 2,653.
26? Okay.
mhm.
Oh,
And
this is awesome.
I want to add to that too. So that's interesting because how I see it is there's not so this group I think is helping the city to develop an affordable housing plan. So they're going to use the CNA, I think, in different reports. They came to the Kitsap Housing and Homelessness Coalition and presented as well. And they're trying to gather information. And how I see this 2% is that there's not a lot of affordable housing in Bainbridge. So those who actually want to live in Bainbridge don't have the opportunity right now because they live somewhere else. But that'll be interesting to see how they use that information.
Yeah, I mean, and actually for all of the cities identified here, I think are these communities, to get a handle on how many people that live in their zip codes are applying for this housing. And maybe vouchers aren't going to be the answer for everybody because obviously, we only have about 500 vouchers left and there's 2,600 people that applied. But this could, maybe be some information that cities could use to say, okay, maybe we can't handle fixing the entire problem in Kitsap County, but maybe if we know, that there was 100 people from Port Orchard say that applied, well, who are those people? And is there a way that we can use other types of funding to get these people housed? It becomes a more manageable number, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And for all those super math people out there, if you have 2,000 folks and you want to calculate 10%, that'd be 200. So 1% would be 20. So about 40 so people in Bainbridge Island for that 2%.
Yeah.
And of course, we wanted to present this. I have a question for you because our goal was kind of present this in a way that's digestible. These charts, it is pretty high level, and we do, of course, have all the details. Do you find this as good conversation starter? Is
Yeah.
it really enlightening?
Absolutely. And I think it's great if people can kind of ask questions, like you said, doing it in a more dialogue way. It's like, oh, well, what does 2% actually represent? And so what is, because it is alarming to see like outside Kitsap, Mason County is the most, what does that mean? It's like, oh, okay. So that's what that is. So yeah, I think that helps a lot. And then looking at the demographic breakdown and we've talked about the census before and talking about why it's so important to complete the census when it comes
Right.
around because that's how we get resources, just tying those things together. And Tony and I were speaking on Monday about he went in and looked at some of the actual notes that people were putting in the community needs assessment. And it's like, whatever you think of Kitsap County and agencies in the past, this should stand as record and proof that, leaders are soliciting your input, actually reading it, and are doing strategic planning based on it. Not to say that it wasn't being done before, but there's so much more transparency and collaboration right now. It's just a great time to be, working together with multiple agencies and just sharing this information out, so people aren't feeling like, what, people don't care, these agencies don't care, no one's doing anything. It's like, no, it's actually quite the opposite. This is a huge problem, huge issues, lots of barriers, uh, but folks are trying to solve the issues as quickly and effectively as possible, and thinking out of the box, which is huge. And Jill is super, very much a testament to think out of the box thinking and making it happen. Right? Jill has racked
Yes,
up a ton
I
of wins this
definitely
year.
agree. I definitely think our leadership is they're change makers. So we'll see more change, and it's good change. And again, we keep trying to use some baseline information to make our decisions so that we can continue to improve and measure our success. So one thing we didn't note about the ethnicity, which we found interesting, was in in our application, you weren't allowed to have no response. Either you could choose Hispanic or Latino or not Hispanic or Latino on our Rent Cafe application. But both in the Kitsap census information and our prior applications, you could have no response. You that was just an option. So seeing that the actual purple, the Hispanic or Latino, is very similar. We just don't know much about this unknown. I mean, considering in 2021 we had 458 people just not respond to that question, so it gives us good information. Again, showing that we want to see these numbers. So I don't think it's inappropriate to not have a no response option, so we can really see what we're looking at.
I wonder too, for folks that want to indicate unknown, could there be a space to indicate why you want it to be unknown?
Yeah, that would be so interesting.
Katie, can you go to the chart on gender?
Mm-hmm.
This one I always find interesting. I've seen this same demographic at other housing authorities, and it's always this way where there's over, the majority of applicants are female head of households.
Now, what's interesting to me is I come across a lot of statistics that say that single males and males are the majority of the unhoused nationwide. But then you're saying that this is what you see when this data is collected, and so you're saying that's a kind of a direct result that the women are typically head of household when there's families, and this is kind of bearing that out.
Well, I'm not really sure that that's what I'm saying. Because I've heard that statistics too, and I more wonder, are the men head of households not applying? Or do they not have the resources, like the case management? That are we not reaching them, somehow? Whereas the female head of households might have access to understanding how to apply for the voucher program. But this is a very consistent statistics that on wait lists, that when the wait list opens, the majority of the applicants are female head of households.
Yeah, that's interesting, and maybe that's like, there's more women's shelters and shelters
Mm-hmm.
for, families and, women fleeing domestic violence, and so there's gonna be ancillary resources connected there, so they may get, tied in. Oh, this is really interesting.
So
Yeah, exactly.
one thing I want to note about this. So when we were finalizing our Rent Cafe application, I'm generally new to the administration of the HCV program and the requirements that HUD needs. So our application is built through our provider based on compliance requirements that HUD, of course, needs. One thing that we couldn't do was give an option other than male and female, which this one you would think would have many more options for this chart. Even a no response option in that case, right? Because there's a lot of reasons you wouldn't want to give a response to a binary question like this.
Right.
So we will continue to see, what we need for HUD requirements, because I can't imagine that will be I want to say that will change in the future based on everything, that we can provide more options to this question.
I was trying to pull up the Kitsap point in time count to see if it was broken down by gender to do a comparison, but I don't see it there. So,
do you have any background on that, Jill?
What's that again, Katie?
Just because there's right now, I asked the question of Yardi, our provider. I was like, "Can we do another option?"
Oh.
They said, "Nope." So,
yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. It is an interesting question, and one that I think that we could probably see some changes in.
Yes.
now is that relatively easy to do, to modify questions or add categories?
As long as it's compliant with HUD requirements, yes.
Oh, gotcha.
And
Okay.
that's what is a lot harder, is to change a HUD requirement. And
I could make any question, yes.
Yeah, the software can do amazing things, but it's getting HUD's forms and regulations to change that takes an act of Congress.
You know what? That's a great point. I was asking Tony about that in regards to something else. It had to do with the community needs assessment and advocating the other way, right? So is there a pipeline that you and other agencies have to speak to HUD and get them to start changing how they do things? Because it seems like they're so far removed, looking at the 30,000-foot level and trying to service the entire country, that the nuance and getting granular can be a little difficult for them. So is there a space to get feedback from housing authorities and say, hey, you need to collect data this way and you need to do it this way? Be a lot more effective and more helpful.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah,
that exist?
so HUD does do these things where they're called listening sessions, where they come out and they go all over and they ask for information, but they're usually they're usually dedicated to specific topics. So there's not a lot of that I've seen. There's not a lot of room for input into some of the these things that we're talking about today. But certainly, I would think that there's a need for that, and it certainly is something that I think HUD hears about a lot.
Well, you do a lot of magic. Is there a way that you can talk to the other housing authority compatriots and collectively say, "Hey, it's great that you're creating these listening sessions, but we should be the ones that are coming up with the topics."
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be awesome.
I think that's a good kind of transition to this slide, because I think displaced status is something we added to our application. I don't think that's HUD required, because we wanted to know if somebody was displaced from their home due to landlord actions, such as selling the property or rehabbing the unit, that they no longer have a home because of the landlord needed to move them out. So I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think that's something we added to the application so we could better understand displaced versus homeless.
So, Katie, how would I understand this? I'm looking at 4, different graphs here. So, 25% of the applicant pool was displaced, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then those numbers again were 2,500. Is that correct?
2,650.
2,600. So 2,600 of the people were displaced because the landlord or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And 13% of those folks were elderly. Well, Can you go and look at how many of the 25% that were displaced were actually elderly or
I
disabled?
can see that, but I mean,
Ooh.
not on this right now. I could
Oh,
see
okay.
that, yes. I could see
Good.
individuals and how it's not just it throws it in randomly. Like I could see how it compares. In this case, these do not compare to each other. The same, those who marked displaced could have as well marked homeless.
Good.
Things like
All right.
that.
And I wanted to call that out too, just so folks know that that is
Mhm.
different, right? It's 13% of the 2,600 were elderly, right? 25% were displaced of the 2,600 folks, not that you can kind of compare those things together.
Yeah.
So I'm just
And
kind of,
yeah, the elderly status is important because there's certain properties. Um, I can't remember all the benefits, but it's just based on their birth date, and so that our report produces this chart. So elderly is over 62, correct, Jill?
Over 62, but the near elderly is 55 to
Mhm.
62.
Yeah.
wow. So 70% were under 55.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's another kind of big number to look at.
Well, and even looking at, 30%, you know, near elderly or elderly, 2,600, 10% would be 260 multiplied by 3. I mean, you're talking about 750 people, right? That's a lot of, elderly folks that are experiencing, uh, oh man, that's a huge number.
It's exactly.
And same with disabled, right?
Mhm.
40%. That's even more than the elderly. So,
Mhm.
you're talking about over 1,000 there that are disabled. It's like, so how do I have adequate housing that I can pay for, that I can live in?
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys sharing this. I was having a conversation um, with folks that don't understand the issues or the triggers that cause folks to experience homelessness. And a lot of the misconception, as we know, is still centered around drug addiction or alcoholism. And it's like, no, there's so many other factors. And so I think this is really important from an educational standpoint and a empathic standpoint. So again, thank you for collecting this data and sharing it out with folks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important information to know, who is applying for these vouchers and is there a way that we can do more to help them, knowing that the time it's going to take to get a voucher in their hand is really long.
Mhm. And what are those times right now?
I mean, so I don't even know that we've pulled from our wait list opening yet. So I would say, it could be a year to 5 years.
Mhm.
Wow.
Something that really resonates with me is that Bremerton Housing Authority, I think I've said this many times, but we offer permanent rental assistance. And it might take a long time to get it, but then you have it.
Mhm.
And that's very different than the emergency rental assistance, which, of course, I mean, those are the downfalls of ours, is that it takes a long time. So it won't be there in an emergency, but can, get on the wait list. It'll be there when you need it, and it and it's really a valuable benefit. It just takes a long time.
But like you said, it's there. So, hopefully your situation changes and when you finally do get called, you don't need it and you can pass it on to someone else that does. But if you do, then it's there. And in that sense, it's pretty appropriate to have it be called a lottery because I'm sure it feels that way for someone to, if you've waited even a year, it's an eternity when you're unhoused. To get that call and say, "Hey, we've got a voucher for you that you can use now," is wow, just tremendous. And I know it's still very difficult for folks to find housing. I have some folks that are close to me that are just they're doing everything they can to find housing. They apply. They actually look really good on paper. They're being great renters, great rental history, and they just keep getting picked over, and it's very frustrating and scary, you know.
Mhm.
So I love that information, and then you'll have the what did this come from? Tell me where this data came from again, Katie.
Well, just from the pre-app, the
Oh, from
application
the-
that is filled out when you apply for the wait list during the opening.
Gotcha. Oh, I love it.
So, considering um, trying to utilize more data to make these decisions, um, we have demographics on entire households who currently have vouchers, those 1,500 families.
Oh, really?
So there's lots of data we can dig into, and we really value that. So we want to do more of that in intentional ways because we have the data. But I'm so excited about the CNA, the Community Needs Assessment. I think that is an amazing, like how they balance the responses and how they really took an equitable approach to getting those responses, and even the focus groups. There's so much valuable information that we're really excited to see that and make decisions from it as well.
Yeah, I've been a part of one of the focus groups, and will be participating in another one. So, and then I get all the goods from Tony, where he shares all the information. So it's like, yeah, it's gonna be really impactful as we all kind of strategically plan on how we can go about answering the needs from the community, which is just really awesome. As we're kind of getting close to wrapping, uh, the holidays are here. Is BHA doing anything in regards to like toy collection or um, supporting efforts?
We're not doing any toy collection or anything like that. This I don't know that we did that last year either. We did this
So last year we I can't remember if it was last year, but um, we usually do some sort of drive. Oh, we did a coat drive for the Salvation Army last year.
That's right. Yeah.
And we did some cards and craft kits, I think, for the kids at the properties. So we're still looking to do something like that, but we also shared just today, actually, um, a few options for different drives that are going on in Kitsap County. There's food drives and Northwest Hospitality. Just looking at their website, there's so many opportunities to help put care packages together for the homeless. Um, there's a lot of opportunities in Kitsap County, so I encourage everyone to look and see how they can, like, if you want to give, there's opportunity to give.
Absolutely. Well, since you called them out, let me go ahead and pull it up. Shout out to Anton Messenger. They do uh, great work over there. Uh, Very innovative,
Mm-hmm.
very passionate. You can see how many meals they provided.
It's
I think I need
amazing.
to do that. Yeah. Look at that. 121 sleeping bags, 427 nights.
That's
With
amazing.
food and taxi rides, that's pretty much G2. To tell you that. We work pretty close with Northwest Hospitality. And then let me see if I can get to their programs. Donate right on the front there. So donations, champions. You could do hospitality cards, which are great. Allow neighbors to directly purchase clothes, food, survival essentials, and an occasional treat with dignity, freedom, flexibility, and reasonable restrictions to ensure your donations are spent responsibly. There's a lot of specialty projects, as Katie was saying, and hospitality kits and environmental hospitality also. Um, 20,000 pounds of litter were picked up. That's huge. It's a lot. So please check out Northwest Hospitality. I'm going to put their link uh, in the chat here so folks have it. Thank you for calling them out there, Katie.
Yeah, we really want to highlight our partners. We're not alone. I think this is a good example of, like, yes, everybody could run a drive, and we like to do that, but we also want to support our partners who are doing that as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know Salvation Army does a lot of things. Like they gave us 40 turkeys, which we passed out for Thanksgiving. Surviving Change, you talked about Deborah Jackson. has her annual Christmas giveaway that a lot of agency sponsors. So there were so many bikes. There was the whole church was full of gifts for kids.
Wow.
It was massive. So looking forward to that. That's December 23rd. So I'll put Surviving Change in the chat too. And if there's anyone listening, you can type that in the chat so we can share that out. Also, as we're wrapping here, Surviving Change. Spell correctly. And of course, the pink and green for Miss Deborah there.
Nice.
That is Surviving Change. Up, look at that. There she is with the mayor there. And let's see. Our sponsors, donations. There we go. Just pop on that really fast. You can click here. Some testimonials. Bam. And let's see if that pops up there. All right. Sometimes I'm an impatient clicker. Ever click and it doesn't change immediately. Like, change now. All right, it's not coming up, but I encourage you to just go ahead and check out the website, which I put in the link, and you can reach out if you want to find out more about Surviving Change and all the other agencies that are doing things. I guess I should really put up Kitsap Homeless and Housing Coalition. That'd be a good
Yes, I think all the links are actually functional now, which is great. We were trying to add some more information to the website, so it's becoming more and more a resource. But I also know you have your own website, Marwan. How's that going?
Well, it's there. We don't do a good job of maintaining the website and updating
It's hard,
it
right?
with all the latest and greatest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's our busy time now with the severe weather shelter being open. So we are definitely busy with that. But this is really great. So again, you can always watch the conduit there. Appreciate you guys for putting that up there. And if you want to be a member, lots of news, lots of resources on here, which is really awesome. And there's so many different agencies. There's Northwest Hospitality again. You can find out more Pendleton Place updates, meals, which is huge. And there's also downloads. So there's just a ton of information here. Free food in Kitsap. We reported here on the conduit that I think that was Kirsten, if I'm correct, right, Katie? That was sharing that Governor Inslee, the SNAP benefits are going to go back to normal next month.
Oh, I don't recall, but
I think
I
that was Kirsten.
can imagine that's true. Yeah.
So food is always an issue, but there is free meals in Kitsap County this calendar here. And the winter and the holiday season is definitely a very difficult time for folks. And so this is there for you. And you can get that here at the link. Also, so I encourage people to go there. I love sharing out information for people. All right. Well, man, Jill, what a way to come back to the conduit with all that good stuff. And then you got stats, Katie's channeling Matt since he's not here with us,
Right.
And hopefully he'll be back soon and he is on the mend. But man, welcome back, Jill. We appreciate you as always. It's good to see you. And yeah, we just look forward to, continuing to hear what the Bremerton Housing Authority is doing and working together, and really excited about what 23 is going to look like. And as we really start implementing strategic planning collectively based on the CNA as it comes out. So definitely optimistic for that.
Yeah, we're excited about that too. So great. All right. Thanks, Marwan. It's good to see you. Thanks, Katie.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week. Thank you all for joining us. And tonight at about 5:30, I will be covering the Central Kitsap School District Board meeting. So join us then. The night goes on. It's the long one. It's Wednesday, everyone. I'm Marwan Cameron. This is